Welcome to the Holeinthewall Business Podcast with Bill and James. I'm James Groves, and along with my business partner, Bill Dement, we want to share our journey as small business owners with you. As owners of Holeinthewall Drywall Repair, we will attempt to peel back the curtain of owning a small business in the trade service industry and talk about the many adventures of owning a small business. Hey, Bill.
James, good morning to you.
Good morning.
I wonder if you think about sometimes how exciting it really is to own your own small business. Do you walk around thinking about that a lot?
You know, it's like a toy that you kind of get used to, but then you realize that I couldn't live without it. So for me, it's like owning your own small business. It's an excitement. It's an adventure every day. It's heartbreak, and it's like jubilation all at the same time. I remember really the day we got our trademark for Holeinthewall.
That was a big day.
Holeinthewall trademark. We were ecstatic. 3 years in the making. And we got a piece of bad news that day. I think when the trucks blew an engine or something.
Yeah.
It was like,
it happens.
But that roller coaster ride, which is not for everybody, is so exciting because we know at the end of the day, we put our heart and soul into something and it's being very successful.
Well, to me, one of the funnest things about being in business and being in a small business is the other people that you run into. And then as we evolved into doing franchises and we were out doing franchise shows, we began to meet some interesting people, and boy, have we got an interesting one on the podcast today.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually we had just gotten in with Fran Growth. We went to the IPG retreat, and then for the first time, then we bumped into Bary and his brother. What's your brother's name?
Musson.
That's right. And all of a sudden we realized, hey, you live here. Near
he
us.
literally lives just a couple of miles from us.
Yeah, so it was like, and then we've been actually trying to get you on the show now for several months. But I would love to introduce our friend that we've met just less than a year ago. But Bary El-Yacoubi, he is with Send Me a Pro. Bary, welcome.
All right, thank you for having me.
Did I get that right?
Welcome.
El-Yacoubi.
Yeah.
El-Yacoubi.
El-Yacoubi.
Got it right.
All right, excellent. And welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here. And Send Me a Pro is such a cool concept. I got a little jealous at first when I started hearing your business plan. I was like, man, that's so cool.
Yeah, it's good.
Definitely scalable. Definitely something that is needed everywhere. So I would love for my audience to kind of get to know who you are, some of your background. I love the concept of your business and how it got started. So that whole story is fascinating. And just welcome. So
Yeah.
let's just tell us a little bit about yourself and all the good stuff.
No, absolutely. So I started off my career back in 2007 as a personal trainer. I was working at a gym in DC. And, after seeing a lot of my customers and my clients in the gym, canceling on me, not showing up, then I wanted to find out, well, why are they canceling? And I started to ask all my customers, well, what's happening? And I can't make it. The traffic, my kids got sick, this and that. And then I kept on hearing these excuses. And one day I started to tell my customers, well, what if I came to you? And they would say, Bary, if you came to me, that would save me like 45 minutes to get to the gym and shower and all that, I was like, all right, I'll come to you. Long story short, I started to go to my clients' homes and train them. And all of a sudden I couldn't keep up with the demand. So I started to hire other trainers to go train some of my clients. And one thing led to the other. And at the same time, that's when my brother and business partner was doing his MBA in Kellogg's and Northwestern, and he was monitoring the traction I was getting. And we realized if you can make personal training convenience and really making it for the customer, there's a huge market just in that segment. So we started an in-home personal training business in the DC Metro, and that kind of took off. We ran that business for over a decade, and we learned a lot. And we learned that, our customers, we'd take a lot of pride on having great customer service. We would send you a personal trainer to your home, to your workplace, and it would be a tennis coach, a yoga instructor, golf lesson, whatever it may be. We had access to a large database of our personal trainers. And then what happened is our customers start to ask us, hey, do you know a handyman? Hey, do you know a pressure washer? Do you know a gutter cleaning? And we started to hear that more and more. And then we had our aha moment. And the aha moment is our realization is once you get the customer to like and trust you, right, they're 97% likely to continue to use you for additional services that you may offer. And that's how Send Me a Pro was born.
And so your first business was called Send Me a Trainer?
So the actually original back in 2007, it was called Bounce Fitness,
Nice.
right? And it was just in-home personal training. And then we launched in 2019 as Send Me a Trainer, which was the better name for the in-home personal training business. And we ran that. And then also from that, we also evolved to Send Me a Trainer, Send Me a Pro.
Send Me a Pro.
Yeah.
And so you launched Semi Pro in DC.
So we launched Semi Pro as a franchise.
Oh, so it started off as a franchise.
Correct.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And so now, so you've been franchising since 19?
Since 2019.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So tell us about some of the success. What are some of the evolutions? Obviously, you just didn't start out with all the technology. So what's your plan? How'd you get to where you are now?
So, it was really understanding and finding a product market fit, right? Finding with your business model, how do you fit in the market and what's your competitive advantage? And, what is the tailwind behind you to now really allow you to go out there and, pressure cook your growth. And that's where, through what we've learned through Send Me a Trainer and in-home personal training. And when we've Send Me a Trainer, we also learned a lot, like who's a good fit. And we still have both brands. So if you're more of a fitness enthusiast and you're passionate about personal training and fitness, or you're looking and you're keen on a fitness franchise, Send Me a Trainer is going to be a good fit. And those people, or that persona, will be they're a good fit for that particular brand. But then when we thought about, well, what's a brand now that the average investor can come in and put the average amount of effort into it, what has better destiny of scalability, that has a better product market fit? That's how we discovered Send Me a Pro, where you don't need to have a fitness background, you don't need to have a specific background. It's for the average person that can come in here and follow the process that we've simplified and really go out there and dominate.
So when someone becomes a franchise owner for Semi Pro, do they need a brick and mortar? Is it just out of their house?
Yeah, so it's strictly working from home. You work from home, very lean model, and you're really, focusing on just, getting out there in the local market and now really building relationships. And it's a very lean model at a high level.
Yeah. So do you have preloaded professionals in the system, or they got to go find the people in their market?
Yeah. So we actually, when we launch in the market, we actually launch as if you're launching a handyman business. So the first thing we do is we recruit handyman. Right. So imagine if you bought any handyman franchises. How many handyman franchises are out there? There are a lot. And when you look under the hood, they're all being ran very, similarly. And you're going to recruit your handyman, you're going to vet them, you're going to onboard them. And then once you recruit your handyman, now you turn on the marketing and get customers and do that. So we start off similar to like a handyman franchise. And once you now deliver and establish the handyman business, and what we like about the handyman is there's such a high demand. It's a great way to get your foot in the door.
Yeah.
And once you get your foot in the door, right, that's when we also now educate the customer. Hey, by the way, we also have, pressure washing, gutter cleaning, landscaping. What else can we help you with?
Yeah. And once you're in the door, you can begin to build trust now with that customer, which you mentioned earlier is a big element of having them hire you for other services.
Exactly. And that's where I go back to, no matter what franchise system someone really is in, what makes great franchisees versus the average, just the franchise, is the ones that can lean into that relationship, right? Lean into take pride in your customer service. Take pride on making sure the customer is going to be happy, because now you delivered a good experience. You've created the aha moment for your customer of, I found my person on the next time I need this particular job done. And that's what you want. And that's how you really build a long-term durable business, and you establish yourself locally as that local go-to person for that specific niche.
So how big could a franchisee grow with that? Because you're saying they could work it from home, but if somebody's highly successful, is that something where they would have multiple people maybe in an office working to do that?
Yeah. So it's, you start off where so there's two sides of the coin, right? One side of the coin is services that you are actually going to deliver. Let's call that the in-house services, right? Handyman. Right. And then the services that you get from your customers. So let's say a customer says, hey, I need a roofer. We're not a roofing company, but now I have my roofing vendor that's a local established business that has the insurance in place. They have the infrastructure. They have the good reviews. I vetted them and I work with them, and I work with them on an exclusive basis. And they value that because they're not buying leads from us like Thumbtack and Angie's List, which they get fatigued from doing. So when I approach them like, hey, I have customers, and you're going to give your warm, hot referral leads that people that are actively looking for a specific niche. They value that. And in addition to that, these roofing companies, they actually hire sales reps to go canvas and get leads and do all that. And they give them commissions. So he's like, it's the same thing. Just like you give your sales rep commission. Now for us, for the referrals that we give you, we earn our commissions on those bigger projects, right? So two sides of the coin. Services that you want to now assemble a team and go deliver, like handyman. And then the other side of it is the referrals that you're going to refer out and now earn commission as well.
So you become like a concierge for your clients, right?
Exactly.
So they can call you and you just source it for them.
Correct. And that really goes back to like just really giving that customer a hassle-free, no headaches, no haggling, place to now go to really, manage their home in a very more efficient way.
It's got to be an elevated client, because the typical Thumbtack client or Angie Leads clients, they're a little iffy sometimes, right? They're not the greatest. So
Yes.
well, we're always suspicious when they reach out to us and they say, we're contacting you for a free estimate. Could we?
Yeah.
So that's they're telegraphing.
Yeah. And if you look at their business model, well, what's Angie's List's business model, Thumbtack's? These business model is to sell that lead to as many people as possible. That's the business model. Yeah. Now, if you're a pro, that's not in your favor.
No.
Because you're going to get a lead, and that lead has also been sold to another dozens of people nearby, and say, good luck. But guess what? I've already made my money and sold you that lead at $30, $50, $800, whatever, per person.
Yeah.
And now let people go fight. So now when I go to that same person, that pro, and say, hey, you're not buying a lead from me, right? That right there gets their attention, right? Because they've been psychologically worn down. Right?
Yeah, and anybody that's been at it very long has tried those.
Yeah.
And you're right. I think you called it fatigue earlier. Boy, that's spot on.
Yes. So they're happy to give us the commission because they're normally paying so much more for dead leads than ever convert. So yes, getting 10, 15, 20, in some cases 30% on certain deals and the sectors, it's a win-win for everyone.
Right. So the customer just has one phone call to make, right, to the local semi-pro rep in their area. And then they've got a trust in the semi-pro owner that they're going to just take care of them. They're going to either come do it with their team, or they're going to be provided a quality person as well. Now, are all the customers paying semi-pro directly, and semi-pro then pays the vendors?
So for certain services, so the services that we now deliver in-house, right, on the other side of the coin, yes, we're collecting for handyman, and we're even now doing painting, right? And then the other service, the referrals, then no, it's directly to that vendor, and that vendor now will give us a commission once that deal is closed.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So what does your average customer look like on the consumer side?
So a lot of the customers is going to lean into the handyman, right? The amount of handyman work that's out there is where we now had the aha moment of that's a great sector at a high level. And the other thing is we also train our handyman, and there's two sides of it. You can have like your head handyman, that's your estimator, or you can have the franchise owner that also can be the estimator as well, depending how passive you want this to be. Now, let's say you're going to go give the estimate, and the handyman goes and gives the estimate. We also train our handyman while they're there. 95% of the time, there's other jobs that you can notice. And hey, I noticed your fence is about to break, or hey, I noticed this and that and this, right? And if you do it while we're here, I could give you a steal deal on it, right? And you can now take what was a $2,000 job and turn it into a $5,000 job of work.
Yeah.
And just by making the customer feel like, hey, I can, while we're here, I could give you an extra like 30, 40% off if you do in the next 2 days while we're working on this project. And they're happy. They're great. And it also allows the handyman to stay more busy.
Yeah, get their confidence and then get an upsell.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. And they value that. And, seeing when they experience that, like, okay, now we could do more. And even if that particular handyman can't do the other types of work, right, we have a very well-rounded team of different handymen that have different skill sets to accommodate all the different types of work versus is limited to one particular handyman skill who may not be good at building the deck or fixing the deck, right?
So then you actually have a resource. So do you have the ability for a handyman who maybe doesn't know how to build a deck, but can they either learn to do it in your ecosystem, or partner with somebody to kind of coach them through certain projects? Like for us, maybe that's probably the wrong example, but for us, if I've got a technician that comes across something that they just can't, I'm not sure how to do it. It's just really phone a friend, and they say, and someone can coach them through. Okay, oh yeah, you got this situation. Let me walk you through that situation. So they're kind of learning through that process. You guys have like online like support for your franchisors?
So we have, yes, we have like a support system where, let's say, number one, the assets is the knowledge of the community that we have of our pros, right? Mm-hmm. So if it's not me, or let's say if it's not that specific individual, they have access to now other technicians and specialties that already been trained and have been doing it for a while. So when we bring in think of yourself as like a general contractor, and you have all your subcontractors under you.
Right.
There's certain things that you are going to be really good at doing, but then people that maybe areas that you're not the best in, then you have your subcontractor that's your fulfillment partner to go in and do a great job.
Yeah, he's the specialist.
Yes. So you don't want to be just general to everything, right? And the clients really value that. It's like, look, here's what we could do, but we have our team and we have different, skill sets that people that have strong roots and history doing this job multiple times. And that right there also gives the customer a lot of peace of mind as well.
So from a customer's perspective, what kind of recourse do they have if your handyman comes out and the job, something goes wrong? And it happens. Listen, we do 1,800 jobs a year. It happens. Things go wrong. So what is the process you guys have in place to deal with that?
So number one, we do have a 1-year warranty on the labor, right? So, and also our handyman are all on board of, we have a 1-year warranty on the labor. And we also, all of our handymen have background checks, they have insurance, they have their own individual insurance as well. And we also have our own insurance. But we always try to do what's best for the customer, because we don't always look for the short-term dollar, right? And we look for building that, hey, we did what's right for you and what's fair, right? Yeah. And we now sometimes, if in a scenario, we might jump in and evaluate the scenario. If it kind of escalates, if we can't be immediately resolved it, and 90% of the time you can resolve it very quickly and just kind of find a common ground. But also holding the pro and the handyman to a higher standard of, hey, make sure you get the job done. This is the standards. Take your photos, submit before and after pictures. That way you always have a log. And that's also what clients like about it, is that they have someone to turn to besides the actual technician right in front of them.
Yeah, they have somebody to advocate for them.
Correct. And that's the card that we play. We play that, hey, we're here to make sure. And we say, look, not every service provider is going to be 100% perfect, right? But good luck chasing down a provider that just disappears on you and just goes to you and says all that. We're here because the service provider, they don't want to lose our relationship. They value working with us beyond just one customer and one job that they're doing. And because of that, we now can manage both sides of the coin to make sure that the customer's happy, but also hold the pros to a higher standard as well.
Yeah, and then being able to have the credibility of a real company, because a lot of the handymen out there, they're just one-stop, like one-off guys in a beat-up truck, and they're just trying to make a living. It's different when you have the backing of a professional company, a different look and feel. You have a warranty. You can get them on the phone, and then you can call them back for repeat work. I've had someone come work in my house, just picking up yard stuff after the hurricane, and recommendation from a friend. It was the most horrible experience. This guy was always sick. I need another advance. Oh, I'm running late today. I'll get that tree trimmed down for you, I promise. Crickets. And it's like, I wish I had someone else that I could have called for that situation. I'm thinking, like, right now in my house, like, I've got several things I could have someone come that I just could do myself, but I just don't want to do it. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I'm tired. I'm getting old. I don't want to fix my fence. I don't want to tweak that deck. I don't want to, hang that ceiling fan.
Yeah. And that just goes back to home ownership. Like, people don't realize, when you own a home, it's a never ending process.
So true.
It will never end. So manage the expectation. Like, there's certain things when you get into it, you don't realize the nature of it. Yeah. Well, home ownership has a lot of things that come to it. And part of our mission is actually making it more affordable of home ownership, to make it more affordable for the average person.
So if you guys How big a job would you take on? For instance, if somebody wanted to add a room on their house or they want to do a kitchen or bathroom renovation, is that something that you would tackle as well?
Yes, as long as we have a qualified individual who has a stable track record of doing that, right? So if we have all of our vendors or our subcontractors, then absolutely. And finding these contractors and these pros, again, they're out there, and we've aggregated them in the local market, and so that would become a great resource for the franchisee whenever a next big job or whatever type of job it kind of pops up. You have your go-to person as well.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like if I am an entrepreneur doing a service, I would want to partner with your company.
Yeah.
So you could give me those leads. I would have no problem paying a referral or commission based on those jobs. That's less marketing I'm doing. That's less time I'm out there trying to drum up business myself. You're just going to hand it to me.
Exactly.
So,
and you're not buying leads.
Yep.
Right. It's similar like when a lot of these service business, they go to like a property manager. The property manager provides you, X amount of locations. Now that relationship typically is wholesale pricing versus retail pricing. When you do a deal with a property management company that has, 200 locations at scale, you're not paying at what you would pay in an individual location, right? It's a bigger job project because the economy of scale, you get business. So a lot of these pros, they see us as a very similar partnership. Is like, look, we're not here just to give you one customer and say, okay, I'm here giving you volume and exclusivity where we will work with you exclusively as long as you can keep up with the demand and you remain, great integrity with our customers.
Right.
Yeah.
So you kind of touched on it there, but I'm curious if you could talk a little bit about how you reach out to, how you vet the pros that you work with. What does that process look like?
Yeah, so very straightforward. We run background checks, we vet them, make sure they have the right insurance in place depending on their industry. And then we create profiles for them, and then also have a review mechanism on our app. So after every job, just like a Yelp experience, we are collecting reviews, right? So that way in the future, when our customers are on the app and they're searching for the landscaper or the gutter cleaner, they could read reviews, they have stars. And that really is how we balance the marketplace, where we actually now have these pros and our vendors that actually have invested interests in their profile on our app. And that's where we're driving a lot of traffic to. So people now can easily book these exclusive lists of pre-vetted pros that in our community.
So their profile then would include things like maybe how long they've been in business and they're specifically good at these kinds of jobs.
Exactly. Like you'll tag them what they're good at, even before and after pictures. You could, do all that. Our goal is to really hone in and give the user better insights of what is this pro's specialty at. Right.
A while back, Bill and I were talking, we've evolved from a drywall repair company to more of a technology company. We've had to innovate over the years. We got to make sure. Listen, when you're doing 5 jobs a week, as a solopreneur, that's great. But when you're doing 45 jobs a week, you need to have the technology in place that can support that system. So it sounds to me like you're more than just a concierge, but semi-pro from a corporate side is really a technology company.
Yeah. And that's kind of how it all really started, is we really started off back in building our proprietary technology in 2015. And it's been just aggressively maturing, add more features, enhancing, evolving. And as we build our technology, the number one thing that we prioritize, non-negotiable, is really thinking about the user experience and simplicity, right? Our mission is to reduce the amount of steps that the customer typically goes through when they try to find a pro. Right. So no more wasting time haggling, price shopping, getting quotes, going back and forth, doing all that. We want to be like that dedicated concierge service, pre-negotiated rates of standard pricing, meaning when our pros, we come out there, we give you, here's our best price, right? And we take a lot of pride. So don't expect no haggling. It is what it is. Kind of like the CarMax, you show up, here's the fixed price on the car. You're not going to now, there's no negotiation, right? And that haggling factor, which now puts a lot of pressure on us, making sure we are committed to give the customer a fair rate, right? And they trust that fair rate. And that's how you really now think about when you want to earn trust from the customer, there's 2 things. Is, do they have a good experience? And did you give them a fair rate? If they don't feel like you gave them a fair rate, they're not going to come back. It's that simple. So you got to now make sure they feel the biggest due diligence. Do they feel they got a fair rate? Are they happy with that pricing? And then they have a good experience.
Yeah. And the way we've always looked at it is it isn't necessarily the cheapest price. That what we want to deliver is value.
Yeah.
Did they get value for their dollar? Whether it was expensive or inexpensive, did they get a fair trade? Did they get value for what they paid?
100%. 100%.
So 6 years is a long time, right? So we kind of jumped from entry to now, but I'm curious about your journey just a little bit, because I know I'm just poof, you're a franchise, because I know what it takes to start a franchise.
Yeah.
And frankly, we were talking a little bit earlier, but if I knew what it would take to sell units, it might have been pause.
Might have made a different decision.
Yeah,
Huh?
we might have made it. Yeah, because it's not for the faint of heart. So you have several years in this. Did you know that there are over 140 million homes in the U.S.? 97% of them have walls and ceilings that are built using drywall. The drywall repair industry is simply enormous, valued at over $13 billion a year. We're Holeinthewall Drywall Repair, and for years we have been perfecting the art of repairing drywall, developing and refining our systems, and strengthening our brand. Our business model is simple, scalable, and easy to learn. We believe it's a real game changer. We are successful drywall repair pros who decided to take our repair business to a higher level, growing both our franchise training and support to industry-leading standards. You'll benefit from our vast experience helping your franchise hit the ground running and achieve success quickly. We'll give you access to our marketing team that has created strategic programs designed to get your phone ringing and booking new business fast. Join a fast-growing leader in an exciting dynamic segment of the home service industry by franchising with Holeinthewall Drywall Repair. Start building your own business and securing your own financial future today. Tell me a bit about your journey. Like, what did it look like? Did you have a company to help you franchise? Did you start from scratch? How did you even learn about, all the processes of franchising?
Yeah, it's funny. So, when we first started running the business, through the years, people would also ask us, hey, are you guys a franchise? We're like, no, we're not a franchise. And then, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich. Right. And that really influenced my perspective on how I view myself.
That's a really old book, too.
Yeah, it is. It's an ancient book.
It's from the 1930s, maybe?
Yeah.
20s?
Yeah. And I highly recommend reading that at least once a year. But, I go back to, when you think about, as you kind of want to grow and scale, a lot of times, a lot of business owners, they get stuck just to running the day-to-day operations of their business and not realizing there is a alternative path that you have already unlocked a lot of value for someone else who now wants to replicate what you want to do, but they don't want to start from the very, very beginning. So you are light years ahead, right, of what someone would normally have gone through. And if someone who's a little bit more sophisticated, that is aware of the nature of business and entrepreneurship, is you're better off finding that person that's 10 years ahead of you, lived your life, gone through all the emotional abuse that you've gone through running a business, right? And that has now streamlined it and put an infrastructure in place. But rather than taking 10 years to do, now you could do that and launch within a couple of months and start getting traction and just avoid all that. And I think when you look at, in our journey is when we, I go back to, everyone has a calling in them. Everyone has a purpose in them. And I think one of the greatest assets in life is the mindfulness that we have of understanding your abilities. What is your ability? It takes us half of our life just to kind of to see and discover and to experiment what comes really naturally to you. And when you look at you see yourself, like, what's your mission? What's your goals, right? And how are you going to bring that to life and what's best for you? Like, my goal is not to become a billionaire and millionaire and all that. That's all the secondary. My mission is to fulfill and to now bring to life my skill set and what I have unique to me to offer to the community that's out there and to help people and to have a strong impact. And my impact has always been to help people and to inspire people to do more. And that's why I start off as a personal trainer, is to help people live a better life. And now taking that mission and that, of whatever you originated with And to continue, it started off as fitness. Now it becomes business ownership, and now helping people just become better. The core has never changed of wanting to help. So it goes back to why I chose to franchise. Why did we do that? Because it's core to the mission of wanting to help people to live a better life, take their financial freedom so they can spend more time with their family and do things that actually matter to them. So the impact that franchising has to offer is incredible, because it's beyond just yourself. You're helping your franchisees live their life that they've always wanted to live, spending more time with their kids, doing the things that they've always wanted to do. And I go back to, if you're a franchise brand out there, you're thinking about franchising, it's beyond just, hey, I want to franchise. The impact that you can have on people, that's what's special. That's what's special about getting people to helping and changing life. And I think if you have an ounce of that in you, then that's good. Franchising is going to be great for you. And if you don't care about other people, you're selfish, you're greedy, it's all about me and doing all that stuff. Hey, you know what? Run your business and stay in your miserable self and just keep doing what you got to do, and, be a pest to the people around you. Right. Mm-hmm. But if you really have a passion of helping and actually having an impact and taking your God gift ability to the fullest reach of what you have developed, have learned, and now share that to the world, then franchising for you.
The passion's coming through, huh, James?
I wish you were excited about something.
Yeah, I wish you could work up some enthusiasm for this. No, it's cool. And you hit on something there, being able to help people. And what we have seen is that, to borrow a baseball term we use a lot, we can start a franchisee on second base. Yeah. He doesn't have to start at home plate. He doesn't even need to get a hit. And he's got a third base coach who's going to get him home safely and get him profitable. And that's what we want to do.
Exactly.
So tell me about,
even though we don't express it as well as you, mm-hmm. we have that same passion. I think all franchisors
but that's why
are
you're
driven
here.
by that.
But that's why you guys are here, because this is also unique, because now you realize that, right? But you know what? That nature within you guys has always been there. Mm-hmm. It's always been there from day one, mm-hmm. right? And it just, in the right time and phase, it comes out and it's born and it becomes alive.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's not just to help people build a business, but what we really love is the community that we've created in our locations. We're helping those communities because people like you and Holeinthewall, Semi-Pro and Holeinthewall bring something to a community they did not have before. The amount of people that are looking at our franchises that have tried to get drywall repair done in their community and couldn't find somebody, it's amazing, because we now benefit that community as well as we benefit that franchise owner, because the community needs these services. These home services are essential. Everyone's got homes, everyone's got drywall, everyone's got a handyman, a need for a handyman. And to bring this level of excellence and compassion and passion to their community as well as the business owner, it's a win-win for the whole community.
I love it.
And we encourage our owners, listen, don't just work on Facebook ads and Google ads. Go sponsor a Little League team in your community. Go, put a flyer, heck, we were doing drama plays for schools, and we always advertise in their little, their flyers.
In their program,
in their programs. Mm-hmm. Get involved in your community, benefit the community. Because and don't always look for that dollar. Sometimes you have to invest in the community, and then when the time is right, then you'll get the dollar down the road.
You see, I love that, because it goes back to impact, the impact that you're doing, right? And I go back to the IQ of an entrepreneur, right? Is if you prioritize impact, right, and mission, everything else is downhill from there. Everything else is downhill. But sometimes we get caught up with the fancy dollar signs, right? Mm-hmm. And we get tangly and we get lost in the woods, and it gets dark very quickly then, because you've lost your impact. You've lost your purpose. You've lost your why, mm-hmm. right? And when you do these things, there's nothing like just, even like volunteering services hey, you know what? If you see an opportunity to do the right thing with a customer or a local, charity event or whatever it may be, take advantage of these moments, because those moments is how you're going to now be remembered and how people are going to start to perceive you.
Right. It's still true. Tell me about the jump, though, you made if someone who owns their own, say they own a car detailing business, or they own a pressure wash, whatever that is, but they want to jump, they think to themselves, hey, I want to franchise. Walk them through that process real quick. Like what would you recommend them do? Brace yourself, whatever that is. Just kind of
brace yourself. Boy, that's it in a nutshell.
Yeah, because you made that jump, right? And so, and I have too. And I've talked to many entrepreneurs who are thought about going into franchising, and you have to. No one told us what I tell these people, and it's not to discourage them, but boy, I don't like getting hit by a 2x4 in the face because I just didn't know that was going to happen.
Yeah, so. And I think that's a great point because understanding once you start franchising, it's also a very competitive nature out there. There's a lot of great franchise brands. You have over 4,000 different brands out there, right, that you're going up against. So it's also thinking about, okay, number one, there's different segments, right, of investors. Some investors, now there's like, okay, so let's say you just start to franchise. You got the first steps, get your legal document, get your website ready, get your content, tell your story. That's just like the first basic milestone.
Your IP.
Exactly.
That's just get you in the game.
Exactly.
Get your trademarks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Once you kind of gone through that process and now you're actually just starting to get on the field, how do you get your first franchisee? Yeah. How do you get your second? How do you get the first kernel to pop, right? Before the popcorn starts to pop, right?
Yeah, no, it's because, and you hit on a real salient point there. If you've sold no franchises, how do you convince somebody, no, this is a really good idea? Yes. I swear.
Yes.
Trust me.
And it goes back to when you build your franchise system, you have to identify personas that who in the right state of mind would be investing in your franchise concept. And what's the rationale behind it, and the different personas. So, for example, a car detailing franchise. Let's just pick that for example. They just get everything ready. Now I'm thinking to myself, okay, now who can I get to be my first early adopters? The first 2 to 3, 4 to 5, my first batch of people. Right? Is it going to be the guy that's looking for, a very big mature brand? Someone's going to do all that. It's not going to be that guy. It's now, and there's. And what also you need to be aware of in the investor community, there's also different segments. There's some investors who won't even touch a franchise location if they don't have hundreds and thousands of locations.
Right. Yeah, it's true.
Right. And then there's some franchise investors that kind of like the mid-tier, kind of getting in a certain phase. And also there's investors that like to get in early, right? I want to get in early. And also, as a franchisor, crafting unique offerings to really attract people to now investors to really go with you because there's early benefits of now getting involved. And usually your first batch of your franchisees, they can carry a larger leadership role in the organization that you would never have that window of opportunity to do.
It's so true.
If you came in, your 100th franchise, your 50th franchise, well, guess what? That window of opportunity has gone. So the early coming up, and that's where if you're launching, you have to think, there's probably 2 people that are going to be a good fit for a very early emerging brand. Someone that is just starting. You might have been running your car detailing for 10 years, 20 years. You just start to franchise. Go find someone who's just entering and wants to start their car detailing and roll them up into a franchise, right? Roll them up. Give them good terms. Get them excited. Say, hey, you're going to be our first location. Here you go. Rather than starting from scratch, I got all the infrastructure for your place. I'll tell you exactly how to do it. You're going to attract someone that was already kind of just started, and you can start searching online, car detailing businesses, and you can see what stage that they're in, and then approach those people and do that aggressively and have those conversations. And then in addition to that, the second persona is going to find investors that really want to now invest in an early brand and have benefits. Maybe you give them advisory seats. Maybe you give them, some equity. Maybe give them some incentive. Give them a lot of extra territory, for example. Whatever you need to do, find something attractive for an investor. So now you have 2 personas that you're really fishing for. Is someone that's already started a detailing a business, and the second one is an investor that wants to get in early, that wants a lot of perks.
So obviously, this a 2-phase approach, right? So you have to build your business in a box, as I'll call it, right? So we had to get the IP, the website, the legal documentation ready. And then we were so excited that we were launching. We launched, 2.5, 3 years ago. And then second phase, you got to sell, like you were just talking about. And getting out there to sell is expensive. And you have to get in front of people who want to buy and want to buy something that's in your market. What have you found to be some of the more successful ways as you started the business years ago to kind of get out there in front of people to try and introduce your brand to somebody?
So great question. I think the biggest mistake, number one, I've seen a lot of emerging brands do is they have great businesses. They have great financials. So who cares about financials? Financial businesses, great. But why have 0 locations, right? Is because they don't know how to tell the story. People buy into the narrative. You've got to have the right narrative that's sharp enough to intrigue people, to now want to get in, to want to be behind this leadership team, right? So when you find, and those are the things that a brand has to really, really not overlook is what's your narrative? What's the opportunity? And it always goes back to, you're not selling franchises. We're awarding franchises to people that we believe in, right? So it's a two-way neutral streak of due diligence. So doing the right narrative, having the right discovery process, and the discovery process, I call it, the dating process. You're going to date a candidate through A to Z. And also and the difference is the candidate, they're going to date you, but also they're going to date 5, 6 other brands at the same time. Right.
Yeah, so true.
And you have to anticipate that. So the question is, and oftentimes the investor, they don't buy what's the best brand. They buy who's the better dater. Right. And the dating experience, was it good? Right? Are you gaining your candidate to think about you in between your dates?
Yeah,
right?
and that's touching on the emotional component of the purchase.
Yes. So it's now, having, being seasoned on now, awarding and how to now put that infrastructure in place effectively and have the right narrative and the right frame control and articulate. I'm going to say that again, articulate your value as a franchise concept. Articulate that the most efficient way possible. That right there is an art. It's an art. If you do that right and you actually put the steps in place, right, then that's what's going to create the tailwind to now accelerate your growth. And then getting out there and understanding the nature of things. Like, we talked a little bit about this is, using the broker groups, right? Hey, brokers take a portion of the franchise fee. If you're not okay with that, then maybe you should probably not think franchising is good for you.
Yeah.
Right? Hey, there's just certain nature of franchising where you have to now do certain things to now incentivize other people to get out there and to advocate about your brand.
Yeah, people get afraid of broker groups because they don't want to cut into the franchise fee, right?
Yeah.
So the franchise fee is X number of dollars, and you think, well, that's great because that'll help me launch a business. And you realize that, well, they're going to take another chunk of change from you. And then you got to pay to be in the groups. But the problem is when we were trying to sell to the end user, the end candidate already. So when you go to a broker's a franchise show, we're not selling to brokers, we're selling to the individual people. When we shifted our mindset from individual candidate selling, for lack of a better word, to let's train the brokers to distribute our brand, because each broker
and to understand our story, because they're sharing your story too.
Because now you have, so IFPG's got 600 brokers, give or take. FBA has got 300 to 400 brokers. And so we're in like 5 groups. And we are now in the process of training, giving them all of our materials, all of our 1-sheets and 2-minute drills and all of our presentations. So now we're not out there entertaining the end candidate. We're now entertaining the broker. And then the brokers go and get excited about us and sell us. And what we also are realizing that we don't need 600 brokers to love our brand. I need 5. I need 10.
Yeah.
When someone says, we have one, we sold a unit from somebody, Fred, over at TES, and he was so excited that he introduced us to a personal friend of his, who then purchased a franchise, who got awarded a franchise in his location. And then, so now these brokers are excited about you. They know that we're a great company. They know we're good to work with. They know that we're going to treat their candidates, their clients well. Then it's just a repeat customer. They show us, hopefully, as often as possible. So our job now, instead of drilling into the end candidate, we're now training our brokers about us.
Yes.
And then
they're your ambassadors.
You're ambassadors. And so now you have this huge network of fans that are out there spreading the word, the love of our brand out there. So, but that mindset shift is hard because you've got to have the capital to do it up front.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to spend $50, $60, $100,000 before you may start seeing that rewards, but eventually it's going to cash flow on its own. So do you have the stomach? Do you have the collateral for that? You know, I heard a statistic a while back that 70% of all franchises fail.
Yeah.
And mainly because they're undercapitalized.
Yes.
And if you have more than 100 locations, you're in the top 5% of most franchises.
Yeah.
So just because you think you have a good item, but if you don't have the stomach or the ability to carry this all the way to the finish line, I recommend waiting. You know, like with Bill and I, he wanted to franchise 5-6 years before we franchised.
Oh, I saw the vision in 2014, 2010.
And I did too in 2014 when I came on board, but it was like we weren't ready. I didn't have the training. I didn't have the IP. I didn't have all the infrastructure that took, 10 years to kind of build. But now we're ready, so we were able to launch that way.
And, that's a good point because I go back to, and a lot of these brands, these franchisors that don't make it, it's not because their territory was bad. They didn't make money. It wasn't none of that. They probably had a lot of these, they were starting to franchise because they were making a lot of money and like, let's take it to the next level. So the question is, where's the misstep? What's the misstep that people go through? Right. And I really think it's now, even if you join the broker groups, you have the budget. The question is, how sharp is your sword?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Your sword of your content, your narrative, your discovery process, right? If you're spending all this money to pump in leads and do all that, but your narrative is not sharp, your discovery process is not sharp, right? The brand culture is not sharp and you're not perceiving well in the community well and what you're doing, your purpose and driven and understanding that casting the right vision. That's how you're going to fall short because you're going to join all the groups, you're going to do all that, and then you're going to blame them and it was too expensive, but not realizing I take responsibility for everything. Like that's just kind of like my nature. It's like I'm okay with that. For some, that's why when I played football, I was a running back because I want the ball. Yeah. I'm okay. 4th and 1. I'm okay. Give me the ball,
please.
Right, please. or in basketball, 2 seconds left. Pass me the ball versus give you the ball right back. I'm okay with that, right? But I held myself to a standard, right? And that's where I go back to, as a brand, you have to hold yourself, to a standard of excellence. Yeah. And if you do that, and you really have guidance and find mentors and find people that can give you a good look under the hood and the engine of how to now, before you even start franchising, to make sure your ducks is ordered from a sophisticated approach, then pour the money on. But don't pour money on where the sword is still dull.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think that's the benefit that we really found with Fran Growth because they were actually, even though we were already underway, it was as though they were able to start us at second base. Mm-hmm. They already, these were 20-year pros with one of the world's largest home service, owners in the world. It's a huge company. So they'd sold thousands of franchises at that point, and they were able to say, this is how the system works, rather than us we would have eventually gotten there, but would it have taken a year, 2 years, 5 years, 20? I hope not. Yeah. So they were able to accelerate our process. Yeah.
And I say, no matter if it's, whatever, there's a lot of good people out there that can help, right? It's just finding that person for you that you work well with, right? That has key insights, right? And understands the nature and that has a good track record of actually now understanding of how to go and dominate. When I launched my franchise, I don't want to compete. I want to go dominate, right? Who has that mindset when they get involved with your brand? I'm not here to compete. I'm going to go dominate. I'm going to go and be, ruthless.
You're looking for an empire builder.
Yeah,
absolutely. One bit of advice to all of you out there: if you're sitting in front of a potential client or a broker, smile. I think I walk around the shows and the retreats, and like, man, they're not smiling. Like they're almost just sitting. The people behind the desk who are supposed to be presenting their brand, They're like miserable.
Or
It's like,
even worse, they're not smiling and staring at their phone.
yeah.
Yeah.
They're not even attempting to make eye
They
contact.
don't even look up. They just,
Yeah.
So it's like, why would I even want to come talk to you?
Well, and again, another class example, right? You might have a great brand, but they just put the wrong person at the booth.
Yeah.
Right. And even if you're the owner and you may be a little bit more introverted, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Right. It's just find the right people to put in the right place.
Yep.
Right. And that's something, I want to save a couple $100. Just, I'll do it myself. Right. Well, hey, if there's someone that, you feel like can cover your blind spots and do things better than you can't do everything. You're not going to be great at everything. Right. But you can hold the standards of what the brand wants to stand for, even if it's at a booth, the first phone call, the second phone call, to even onboarding your first franchisee. That's where, as the founder, you're now casting that vision and that layer of excellence and making sure you're covering your blind spots.
Yeah. Great advice. Completely. I got a question. So we've talked about your growth, but curious, how many locations are you looking at right now? Do you have one?
Yeah. So we about have 250 territories.
Okay.
That's terrific.
Yeah. And about 90 owners across that. And and we keep growing. We're growing.
All in America?
We're coast to coast in the US. We're in Canada. We're also in the UK. And we even have a franchise in Dubai and even in Saudi Arabia and Riyadh. So
Oh, wow.
a lot of international growth as well. So,
Technology is key, man. You have the right technology, you can support anywhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly.
That's crazy.
And the technology means a lot to us, and continuing to lean into that more.
So what's the future? What's next for Semi Pro?
We're always leaning into more of how we can continue to better enhance the home ownership. Like, that's our mission. How do you enhance home ownership? How do you make it more sustainable, more affordable, right, and more predictable? And now starting to package like pre-services that bundle and save, where we can come and give you, bundle services under one price, where we have our vendors that will go do the work. So if you want, let's say you're pressure washing the front and the backyard, the window clean, the gutter clean, things that you would do like once a year type of thing, we come in there, we'll knock out that and have that, under one umbrella for a more discounted price versus if you went and did individually, right? So you're creating value, right? You're bundling. So it's getting into deals and offers. Like, here's our offer where we could do X, Y, and Z. And that's something we're starting to test, and we're seeing a lot of great traction in that. And then, also it's kind of like, when you look at like when you go to a car dealer, right, you have a service advisor, and the service advisor kind of gives you a report on, here's your car, here's what's happening, here's the things that we noticed, here's some things that you should do, and here's a few things that are a little bit concerning that that need attention. So really being that that service advisor for the homeowner and providing them more insights and regular routine and predictability on that, and all being able to see that all on your app as well, like all the things that's happening, have a log. So we're now even building more in our technology where
I love that perspective of being a service advisor for the homeowner.
For the homeowner, right?
Exactly.
That's a terrific idea.
And having to log all that there in the app, and you can see different things, and you can, it's time for my AC. I could set a reminder for my AC filters, and you could do it. And even like empowering homeowners to do certain things and have that all being reminded. And then other things that they don't want to do, they can request a service for. But now there's a reminder, there's a calendar, there's like a history log of even how the home is doing.
Yeah.
So,
So a lot of this is just managing data. And we didn't touch on it during the program, but in the pre-show, we were talking about that you guys run a proprietary software.
Yeah.
And that I think you said you have 30 people, and I don't know how many, but a good many of those are working on that software, right? So talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So like we have our team is about 30 people, and about half of our team is software developers. We're building, enhancing technology, adding more user experience, testing, all that kind of stuff. So that's something that we're always looking to continue to enhance. And what drives our product development is the customer asking, getting feedback from customers on what they want to see more and what can we enhance, and also seeing the vision of where we're going and start to now introduce more features and concepts in the app, and ultimately give them a one-stop solution to service all their home needs all in one platform.
Wow.
So we can edit this out if you don't want to talk about it, but you're a young guy, right? How long do you want to just do this forever, or do you want an exit someday?
Great question. I am very principle oriented, right? I go back, I don't chase money. I don't chase none of that. I chase like, what's my purpose, right? And my purpose is to help people. When I was in third grade, I have a drawing I still have, right? And my teacher said, write of what you want to do, and you see yourself, write as you see yourself in the future. And I wrote something, I drew a little picture, and then it came to my turn to present it. It's like, what's happening in here? This is me helping people, right? So that's always been like my core mission. Like what I take a lot of pride in is just, I want to now help. I want to have an impact. I want to now open doors for people and show people that they can do it. They can actually, do whatever you set your mind to. And that's something that I think it goes back to, once you find your purpose, it's not about what you're doing. It's about staying true to your purpose and as keeping that as the factor, the main indicator. And that opportunity will continue to enhance and open up for itself. So we started with this. Again, we started with in-home personal training. Now we're franchising. Now we're doing this, and who knows what the future may be. But my purpose will never change, where I want to help and have an impact on people.
Wow, great attitude.
But you didn't answer the question. It's very true, though.
Yeah.
So I guess the answer is, we'll see.
No, I'll tell you. So like, it's, if the opportunity always opens up, but it's right now we're definitely committed to, continue to grow Send Me a Pro. And I want to see it where I know it can continue to grow. I think we're still early, and there's so much more that we're going to be enhancing and leaning into in home ownership that, regardless, we definitely want to be part of the entire journey.
You got to be getting calls on a weekly basis, though.
Yeah. We get about 30 leads a day.
No,
right?
I mean, from private equity.
Yeah. We get a lot of conversations, a lot of people reaching out, a lot of people monitoring us, a lot of people trying to do that. Yeah. And that's the beauty of franchising is, just by selling franchises, you don't need to necessarily raise money and do all that because it's self-funded itself. Right. So you don't need to, yes, you get private equity, you get investors that want to get involved and do all that, but you don't need that.
Don't even need it.
Exactly. So it's like, hey, take the business, right, and really build it to the empire that you can actually build it up to. Yeah. Right. And why not do it? Right. Because if you have the skill set, the reason people, they sell or they get investors is because there's a lack of skill set. And that's where, like, my brother and I, we really complement each other because his background is in private equity. His background is in investment banking. He went to one of the best MBA schools in the nation, right? So really now having the yin and yang from that, just all the different stages of the business to be able to have the right approach and the right insights to now scale a business to the brightest star possible. We have that internally. Right. Versus when we get phone calls, it's like, we know what you're going to say. We know how you guys think, yada, yada, yada. It's just that, hey, we know what we're doing. Yeah.
Or you just get old and want to put your feet up and drink a Mai Tai on the beach somewhere. Nothing wrong with those goals either.
Yeah.
Bary, this is fabulous. I'm so glad you came by. I'm glad that you're in my friend group.
Yeah. Likewise.
I can't wait to finish this conversation over some lunch and just kind of keep in touch. And obviously you're close by, so come on by anytime.
And congratulations on what you guys have done. I just taken the tour here today, seeing what you guys are doing, and been monitoring you guys, all the different expos and the events and everything. And, you guys have something special, that's for sure. And I've seen a lot of franchise brands, and, seeing the commitment and the passion and the expertise that you deeply are enriched in, that you guys have already developed to offer to your franchisees. The type of training, the support, this everything, your technology, user experience. You even have the booking, everything through chat now you guys are doing, which is incredible, right? So it's congratulations to the both of you, because I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy, and I know you guys are just getting started.
Yeah,
and so that's exciting as well.
Well, thank you for those kind words. We appreciate it.
Thanks. Well, thanks for coming in, and thank you everyone for listening. Another really good show.
All right.
We'd like to thank you for listening to the Holeinthewall Business Podcast with Bill and James. We'd love for you to join our Facebook group and keep the conversation going. If you'd like to learn more about us and our business, check us out at holeintthewall.com. If you'd like to learn more about how to start a Hole in the Wall franchise, go to holeintthewallfranchising.com.